fall of the House of Usher, I think more than anything, is a commentary on the society that we live in today. I think at this point, Netflix needs to just change their name to 6 Degrees of Michael Flanagan. FX should just change their name to Ryan Murphy Network. Anything he produces, we just seem to eat it up. I feel like this is the most political series that he's done, and it makes me want to go back and rewatch some of the other ones and think, like, was he sort of angling to put a kind of Black Mirror to how things are today in each of the series is a couple of years ago. I've got an interesting scent pairing with this one. Hopefully it won't be too controversial. Let's see. But I wanted to talk about, you gotta talk about each of the characters, what you might have seen them in before, their background and their stories. So what I think a lot of it meant. I'm a big Edgar Allan Poe fan. I've read majority of his poems and dark stories. The Pit and the Pendulum, I think, was the first one that I read. So I was really happy to see that that was included. Raven, obviously the most famous poem of Edgar Allan Poe. I just thought it was really interesting twist to bring in this bigger concept. The story reminded me a lot like Fountainhead and Ayn Rand's books, Money Corrupts. What is the meaning of all evil? So it follows the family called the Ushers, brother and sister who start this multi-million-dollar corporation. The head of the family, Frederick Usher, so he's got 6 children, 1 grandchild. I was thinking, like, why is she mentioning this? It is actually important to the story. You get to meet each of the 6, and they all have very different lives. Majority of the film takes place in flashback. Sat down with these 2 people who you're not really sure about what their actual connection is. One called Augie or Augustine, and the other is Roderick, and they're sitting down in the shoveled house, and he's talking about the story, the entire story, and it sort of cuts back and forth between them having this conversation and how each of these family members died, and hence each episode is about each one. So the first one is the youngest as well. We'll mess up this little boy's name.
Who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
But before I do, let's name each of the Ushers. Perry, Camille, Leonardo, Tamerlane, Victorine, which I think is a gorgeous name, Victorine, Frederick. Also nice to see each of the siblings are all different races, and we get a quick introduction of what each of them are like, their day-to-day lives. Each of them seem to have their own monopoly of part of the empire where they're trying to do something that basically it seems like generate more money, but I feel like each of them is also like one of the 7 deadly sins as well. I feel like it was playing off of that. The first story that we dive into is about Perry, incarnation of lust. His idea to sort of get his inheritance and make a sort of $1 million empire is he wants to start a club. His father is like, that's ridiculous. He also entices one of his brothers, well, they're all half siblings, his brother's wife to come to this party, which we learn is an orgy.
Wait, first of all, you're not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
And she becomes tempted and does indeed go. Hence why I think Perry is an example of lust. And the first time that we see Verna, who is played by Camille, who has been in many other Mike Flanagan films and series, I think she's a brilliant actress, and I feel like she's actually tearing up the scenery in every single one of these. We kind of get to see a little bit of that in this scene where she actually like speaks to Perry, but she really put her foot in this, and she has some amazing outfits, and they just make her look stunning and painted. Every single time that you see her, she looks flawless. Not a hair out of place, not a pin out of place, not a button unbuttoned. She looks stunning. Anybody who see this would think Mike Flanagan is married to her, but he's not. He really, really adores this woman, or she's just absolutely stunning anyway. We meet her, and basically this is the first part where I thought she is definitely not human. I thought right away that she was supposed to be death in all of its forms, but I think when I get to the end, I was wrong. She seems to disappear before anything happens to her, and she's controlling some of the people there to do some things. And that is our first funeral of Perry. I want to say it's Camille, who is played by Kate Siegel, who has the most amazing wig. Like, I feel like she had that wig because she said to her husband, she's like, if you do not get me a proper wig, I'm not coming to set. Even her, like, all of her outfits are really good. I feel like everybody really like started to chew up the scenery in this entire thing. It is very over the top. It is very melodramatic. I think it's probably one of the most melodramatic all Mike Flanagan series is so far, and I loved it. Maybe because it's just so camp and so over the top. Camille, who I think represents greed. She has these two assistants who work for her, and she has a sort of business where she looks up people's lives and secrets. She's sort of an investigator, and then she sells their secrets through blackmail. She's also trying to look into her sister, Victorine, who I think somebody had paid her to try and have a look into. She goes to her sister Victorine's lab, where she is housing these animals, and she's doing experiments on these animals so that she can try and get this medical trial tested and then tested on humans involving heart transplants. Camille meets her end in, I think, probably one of the most over the top of all of the deaths because of Verna's acting in it, and you can tell they put wires on her to do this scene, and I was just like, this is cuckoo bananas. I thought at one point Camille looked like she was laughing, but actually she was in shock. But the way that they cut it, it just looks kind of hilarious. Her death, of course, is not hilarious, but like the way it was done is just like, that's way over the top. And we start to have the storyline between the two characters. Augusty, his character, we learn, was a detective for the police force, and he was trying to look into the Usher family because some various bodies were going missing. And he got Frederick to eventually coincide with him to sort of look into this company that he was working at. Something happens where the two of them are no longer on side with each other, and now Frederick seems like he's being forced to tell his story of what really happened and why they are no longer friends. Then we get Leonardo Usher, who I really love everything that this man has been in. Raoul Coley, he has the only part in Midnight Mass that I actually enjoyed was he had this really beautiful monologue about his religion, his character's religion, and about what it was like to be a father and a parent. And if you haven't seen it, watch that scene alone, because it's just the way he emotes is just so beautiful to watch. This is a completely different character in this one. He's a bit of a playboy. He has a computer gaming company, bisexual, various characters. The way that we meet him is from some woman performing some acts on him, and he tries to hide her from his actual partner. He loses the cat that they have together, goes and finds another cat, and we meet Verna again, and she gives him a different cat. Another one death that's absolutely over the top is the cat doesn't kill him, which is what I thought they were gonna do, and I kind of really wish they did. But he basically goes crazy trying to get this cat out of the house, and he falls through his death. Vanity. I think Leonardo is supposed to be a sort of play on vanity, and you can really feel that with his character, with the way they just not really engaged in emotional relationships with other people, very much caring about himself and how everything affects him, and is very, very all about his appearance, as he has one of the funniest lines, "Satin is silk for poor people." was like, oh, is it? Then we have Victorine, who is played by Tia Miller, who I was very excited to see in the show. I'm really excited to see in the show because I loved her when she was playing Hannah Gross in The Haunting of Blythe Manor. The Haunting of Blythe Manor or The Haunting of the Hill House? I think it's The Haunting of Blythe Manor. What they did to Hannah Gross, I will never forgive. I will never forgive. But I'm glad that he's brought her back because he just picked such really good actors. He just got a knack. He just knows. He just looks at them and was like, yep, you, I want you. And then he just holds on to them so nobody else can use them, which is fine because I will watch all of them in anything. They could all literally be sitting in a room together, drinking and just exchanging looks, and I would watch it. But Victorine, who I said before, is trying to do this medical trial, and her partner is a doctor on the trial, and he does this thing that you see in The Haunting of Blythe House, where it's this noise. With Hannah Gross, she kept on seeing things, but with this character, Victorine, it's a noise, and you can keep on hearing it. It keeps on coming back to this motif of like a sound. It keeps on coming back to this motif of something like a sound or a sight or something, an itch that you just can't quite scratch. At the back of your brain reminding you of something. And Victorine basically has lost her absolute ever-loving mind, and she has, I don't even want to say it's accidental, maybe it's accidental, but then what she does after isn't accidental, and I'm gonna cut it there because it's actually quite graphic, and they're trying to perform surgery on her partner, and the sound that you can hear is the device which they have made not working because it's not able to pump anything because it's a heart device, but the heart is no longer moving. And the father, Frederick, comes in and actually finds her, and you think she's gonna kill him, but she doesn't. And then you come to Tamerlane, and she is one of the older members of the Usher family. She is trying to start this other sister company to the pharmaceutical company, where it's basically like a care box. She's trying to launch that, but her husband also has a health brand. She's trying to like bring this health element into the Usher pharmaceutical brand and sort of spear it onto the next step. And I think she represents pride. She's very afraid to ask for help or do things that would involve her having someone else to depend on. So much so that she never has a physical relationship with her husband because she's so prideful that she doesn't really want to rely on him for how she gets her pleasure. So they hire various women to come and she watches, but she ends up meeting her demise because eventually she goes a bit crazy and she can't sleep anymore. I think the body can only go 7 days without sleep, to which after it will basically just start shutting down in various other ways and you will lose your mind, and that is what happens to her. She's not new to the Mike Flanagan world. I think she was in A City or in Midnight Mass, amazing actress, and her demise is quite unseemly. She gets a mirror, impales her. Again, why I thought it was pride and vanity intertwined. She is very, very stubborn when it comes to asking for help with the things that she needs and thinks she can do everything on her own. And it's quite unfortunate that she never gets over that, because I feel like her character was one of the ones that was holding themselves back from being truly happy. Then the second to last character is Frederick, who has a daughter, and the wife, as we know, had that horrible accident, and she is in a ICU unit because her skin has been so badly burned. I think his story, Frederick's story, is more about sloth and lack of action. He has one of the best lines that he says to the youngest son, Perry, the foundation, something like the foundation cracked from 5 to 6. Absolutely hilarious. He seems to always be reliant on someone else to do things for him. You have to go out and get things done for yourself at some point, and I think that's why his father gets upset with him, and he's also the oldest. daughter, who's played by Kaylee Curran, who was in the Mike Flanagan production of sequel to The Shining, which is a nasty little movie, and I can't believe he did it, but I think he did a good job. She's she's just such a great actress. I'm so glad he put her in this. She's called Leonre, and she's very strong, determined little girl. Basically is the best usher of all of them, and her story is so sad. But this is about Frederick. Takes some drugs off Leonardo and is slowly dosing the mother, punishing her for going to this party in the very beginning of our story. He is slowly but surely losing his mind, and the building in which the youngest son Perry had the accident, he's been given the charge of getting rid of any evidence of the building, and he has a whole storyline about just trying to get rid of it as soon as possible. Much to his demise, he ends up going in and sniffing poisonous fumes which knock him out, and this is the Pit and the Pendulum episode. It's quite sad. I didn't really feel bad for him in the end because of all the bad things that he did, but then like how horrible is it to see your impending doom and to feel every part of it. And I think that's the saddest part of that story, The Pit and the Pendulum. She's a depressing person. I love depressing, like really horrible stories. I don't know why. I think maybe it appreciates what you have in life a little bit more. And we finally find out who Verna really is. I think rather than being death, Verna is more of not even the devil. I think she's temptation in all of its many forms. She maybe is like the scale of life and death, and how much life can be worth to a person. Probably didn't mention Mark Hamill's in this, who is kind of unrecognizable, not because he's wearing a lot of makeup, because he completely does transform himself for this character. He gives him a different voice, a different stature, not how we're used to seeing Mark Hamill, but he sort of is tempted by Verna, and he's like, thank you for the offer, but no. His character, one that you see where somebody actually making the decision to probably the right thing rather than trying to sacrifice themselves, be the one to escape fate's fatal hand. She then tells Leonre all of the things that happen after her death, a glimpse into the future, which made me think why she could possibly be the devil, but I don't think she's evil. I think she's always given people a choice, like maybe sort of like a messenger or an archangel or something like that, but she's not evil by any means. She's just a messenger. I think each one of them at some point was given a choice to do the right thing, and they all choose in the end death. It's really well written. It will keep you on the edge of your seat the entire time. Every single episode ends on a cliffhanger, and you can't help but see what's going to happen to the next one, because you know from the very first episode that they're all eventually going to meet and end. So it's not really a surprise. I think it's more the way that the things happen, the monologues that they're given in order to sort of hone in on what each character wants, motivation, and eventually what brings them down. I had to think really hard about this one because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to match it more with the Edgar Allan Poe theme, or whether I wanted to match it more with the Fall of Usher theme and their wealth and their stature and what they're about. I chose to match up to their stature and their wealth. It's one that is very, very alluring, tempting, expensive. It's a Chanel. It's French perfumery. Notes of lemon, mint, pink pepper, grapefruit, ginger, isui super, nutmeg, jasmine, and a base note of laudanum. An aromatic perfume with intense woody fragrance, a chord of Caledonian sandalwood, and I love laudanum scents. I think it's one of the most addictive scents. I find that I smell that has laudanum in it. It's very, 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 I just want to keep smelling it. Isui Super, everything just smells better with Isui Super in it. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it, but is dry woody notes. It's very, very aromatic. I think it's the jasmine that I can get the most out of. This also lasts for absolute ages. It does create a nice projection, a nice wall of smell as soon as you enter the room. I think it's easy wear as well. Anybody can wear it. It's a very sophisticated fragrance. That is one of the things that I got from the Ushers, was obviously they have all of this wealth, all of this money. They're going to wear something rather expensive, but probably something that is easy to get on with, because they have to do all of these things and meet with various people. So I thought this was a good one to remind me of the characters, for the good and the bad, because it's, at the end of the day, it's not their fault that they end up in this predicament. Their fathers and their aunt, their father and their aunt. Almost forgot to mention her. She has great hair. Outfits they give this woman. Either he really likes to see women styled well, or that's his wife. I can't really tell what it is, but he knows how to at least film these women in their outfits, because I don't remember anything that the men were wearing. I feel like they were really lacking on their outfit choices, especially for Frederick. Sweaty Freddy. It's a good watch. If you haven't got it, it's definitely one to try and catch up over the Halloween season. Is it scary? Not any more scary than the Haunting of Blythe Manor or the Haunting of Hill House. I think those are a lot scarier. He uses a lot of older actors. I don't think you see a lot of people from the older generation getting a chance to do a full-length series or be in films. It's nice that he's using some of the greats in a series and just getting the younger generation to recognize who these people are. And I think he does it on purpose to sort of get them to say, oh, you were really good in that thing that I watched on Netflix. Maybe you've got other things, and sort of getting them into their back catalog. But this will leave you definitely thinking about life.